Hi, and welcome to the fourth and final installment of my vlog that I have been making this month in order to celebrate the 6-year anniversary of my blog, JanelleSchmidt.com. And I have filmed all of these all at once, but I'm breaking them up into bite-sized chunks, so if you missed the first 3 installments, you can watch them out of order because it doesn't matter. I'm not like, it's not like a story arc or anything. I'm just answering questions that people asked me. And thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoy this last installment. Madeline wants to know, how do you market your books being indie published? Very carefully. No, there's a lot of strategy that goes into it. There's a lot of learning that goes into it. It kind of depends on the day or the month. Some days, marketing happens, and some days, months, weeks go by and nothing happens. A couple things that I do. I have started learning how to use AMS ads, which are Amazon Marketing Services ads. I think that's what it stands for. It's on Amazon, and you can market your books through that and pay for clicks. And I've paid about $25 for about 7 different ads, so $25 total for all 7 of those that I've run. And I've seen an uptick in a couple of those have gotten me sales. I've seen an uptick in pages read, which is where about half my income comes from because my books are in Kindle Unlimited. So we get paid per page that's read in that service. I do some free promos throughout the year. Every year I'll, have one or more of my books set at free or 99 cents. And when I do that, I usually do pay for an ad site somewhere like eReader News Today or Kindle Daily Books, or Book Barbarian has done pretty well for me. Fussy Librarian is okay for me. Other people, it just depends on the book, because some of the ones that I'm like, yeah, those do really well, other people are like, I didn't even get my money back. And I try to pay for the ones that have worked in the past for my books, and I try to keep the dollar amount pretty small. So I really got to think about it if it's more than $30. I really got to think about that. Most of the time I make that money back over the course of the month after the promo. Other than that, I've joined some author groups like the Clean Indie Reads group, and then the Clean Indie Fantasy Discussions spin-off group, part of the Fellowship of Fantasy. I've written a couple of short stories for the Fellowship of Fantasy anthologies. They've got 5 out, and our latest one is Paws, Claws, and Magic Tales, which has a short story from me in it, which is, it's a cat-themed anthology, but they're all fantasy, so all of the stories have something to do with cats. And it's really fun, actually. All of the stories are really good. Just networking with other authors and promoting their stuff, and they promote my stuff, and being an indie author is kind of being a part of a tribe, and if you can find a good segment of that tribe, then you're gold. So the Clean Indie Reads group is truly gold, as is the Realm Makers Consortium, the Fellowship of Fantasy, which is a spin-off from the Clean Indie Reads group. We're more fantasy specific part of the group, and they're so supportive, and they're so helpful, and you throw out a question and 30 seconds later you've got 27 answers. It's great. I highly recommend, if you are an author, finding a group like that. Liv says, if you could enter any fictional story world, what would it be and why? My own, because I know it the best. Actually, it's probably not true. My dad and my sister will ask me questions about my books, and they just laugh because I can't answer because I haven't read them in a while. And I was like, I don't know. You'd probably know that better than I have. You've read the book 4 times. I only wrote it. But yeah, my dad laughs at me really hard because he'll ask me, oh, what was the name of that character in chapter 12? I'm like, what? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm writing a different book now. So that happens a lot, actually. I'm not making that up at all. Yeah, my own world would be fun. Another one that who doesn't want to go to Narnia? Like, really, who doesn't want to go to Narnia, and see Aslan and talk with talking animals, and, maybe become a king or queen? That'd be cool. I think Middle Earth would be awesome to explore, but I'd want to do it when they're not at war. So, there's that. I think the Enchanted Forest of the Enchanted Forest Chronicles would be a great place, and I don't think I would be as likely to die there as in most other fantasy worlds. I'd love to visit the Star Wars universe and fly in the Millennium Falcon, Speaking of which, Madeline wants to know, which of the Star Wars movies is my favorite? That's easy! Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back is my favorite of the Star Wars movies. But I also love A New Hope, and I love Return of the Jedi, and all the rest of them. Besides Rogue One, I can just pretend don't exist, because yeah. That's all I'm going to say on that. All right, Liv wants to know, what's my favorite real-life adventure? My favorite real-life adventure. I haven't had a whole lot of real-life adventures, unfortunately. I mean, I've had experiences I could call adventures. I could write them into an adventure, but actual adventures, probably jumping off the cliff into the river. That is probably one of my favorite real-life adventures that I've ever actually experienced. My brother and his family live out in Washington, kind of in the middle of the state, and they live right on the Columbia River. And there's this huge, you have to drive a ways to get there, and through a pasture, and then there's this cliff, and the river is deep enough to jump off. And it's a little scary because where you're standing, it doesn't look like you're going to clear the rocks that are jutting out below you. Not jutting up, but jutting out. So you're standing on a cliff, but the cliff doesn't go like that, right? If you're standing here and the river's down here, it's not you're standing on this ledge like a diving board. No, you're standing on a thing that looks like it's doing that underneath you, and you're I don't know if I can jump that far and hit the water, and I'm gonna smack my head and die. There's more clearance than you think there is. It's just, the way that it looks from where you are. So it was May. The water was 52 degrees. The air, thankfully, was 80. And I decided that I wanted to jump into the river because he had talked about it. I'd seen videos of him and my other brother and my sister-in-law doing it. My brother, Grant, he's kind of got this this vision of a company called Bruce Trek, and it's all about doing crazy adventurous things. So he had given me a hat with his logo on it, but I sort of felt like maybe I should earn it. So I wanted to jump off a cliff, and I figured that is how I would earn that. And so I did. And I did it twice. I didn't just do it once. I did it twice because I thought maybe that would make it more real. And so, hitting that water, it was so cold. 52-degree water is really cold. And I, so you kind of almost go into shock as you go under the water, and then you have to force your body to swim to get to the shore and get out. And then once I was out, it was fine because, again, it was 80 degrees out. But yeah, so that was really fun. I have a video of it on YouTube, I think. Madeline wants to know, finally, do you call it, well, finally for her because it was her last question. It's not my last question just yet. Do you call it pop or soda? I've heard it's a very Midwestern thing to call it pop. Yes, I call it pop. I grew up in West Chicago, Illinois, and everybody calls it pop. And I moved to the South, and everybody calls it Coke. Someone will ask you, do you want a Coke? And I will say, no, I want a Dr. Pepper. And they will say, no, do you want a Coke? And then you say yes, and then they say, what kind? And then you say Dr. Pepper. It's a little bit convoluted. But so that I ran into that maybe once while I was down there for 9 years. But most of the people that I actually talked to called it soda. A couple people called it Coke, but yeah, so when we came back to Wisconsin, and we come back to the north and moved to Wisconsin, it was really fun going into the grocery store and seeing that the aisle of carbonated beverages was the pop aisle. And so I felt like I was home. All right, a couple of questions from Liv. She wants to know, what does my publishing process look like? This is a good question, and I just went through it with another friend recently and told her about it. So it's pretty straightforward. I work really hard on the rough draft, and I write the rough draft, and I get that done. And then I go through it, and I edit it myself as much as I can. Mostly just, trying to make sure that I don't have any, big, huge plot holes or gaping errors or, I left this character, hanging off a cliff and then forgot about him and wrote all these other characters and never went back to him or, and so then when I'm done with that, I send the book to my developmental editor, and he makes notes on kind of a 30,000 foot level, like, I think this character wouldn't do this here, or, I really think that, and some of it's a little bit of line edit too, because he'll often give me ideas for like, this part is really good, but if you tweak these words, it'll make it stronger or whatever. But yeah, so then I get those edits back and I do those edits, and then I send it to my line editor and my beta readers simultaneously. And when I get all of their notes back, then I go through them all together. And that's probably the most overwhelming part, because I've got like 4 or 5 different sets of notes looking at me, because my beta readers are fantastic and a little bit more like line editors than maybe they should be without getting paid. But I send them chocolate or a free book. So maybe they should be charging me a little more, because they do a really, really good amount of work. And they give me some really good notes. And so I go through all of that and I edit throughout the whole thing. And then when I'm done with that, I send it to at that point, I format it. So I format it and make it look like it will look in the book, and then I go ahead and I order a proof copy, not because I'm looking for the actual proof copy, but because I want to go through the book and I want to read it line by line. And at that point, I sit there with my red pen. This one's blue, but I have a red pen that I use, and I go through it and I mark it up and I make changes and I work on the wording and alter all of anything that I see. But I read it out loud as I do that, and I mark it up wherever it seems to lag or sound weird. And so then when I'm done with that, I send it to a final proofreader, and I've sent it to Ariel Bailey, is the person that I have gotten to proofread it in the past, and she does a really good job, and she's really fast, and she's really cheap, which are all good things when you're an indie author on a budget. And so when she got, so I've only used her for Minstrel's Call. I've done the proofreading myself the last couple of, the first 3 books, and this time I could actually afford a proofreader as well. So I decided to go ahead and do that. And she caught a few things, and then I had sent it back to my developmental editor so that he could see how it all ended up, and he caught a few things that she didn't catch, and then I caught a few things as well. And so I thought it was pretty close to good, and then I gave the final copy to a friend after it was published, and she caught a couple pages worth of notes, so I have to go and fix those. But yeah, so after I get it back from the proofreader, I make those changes, and then I hit publish. And I'll usually order one final proof copy before that, but so that's my publishing process. It's pretty straightforward. I get a lot of help along the way. So then Liv also wants to know if I have any writing advice, and oh goodness, so much. But really it can kind of be boiled down into 3. Write what you know, write what you don't know, write the words that only you can write. And don't worry about what anybody else is writing, and don't worry about what the market says it wants. You can write to market if you want, obviously, but when you're drafting, kind of forget all of that and just write your story. And you can always tweak things to write to market later. I'm not an expert in writing to market because I don't do it. I probably should. If I wanted to make money at this, I probably should write to market, but that's not my primary goal. So, you have to figure out what your primary goal is as a writer. And if making money is one of them, then I'm not the person to follow and be, aspiring to be like, I do all right, but I'm not making a living on this. My other piece of writing advice is read in the genre that you want to write, read outside the genre you want to write, become an expert in your field, become an expert in your genre, so that your stuff sounds like things that people have read and that they want, that they're, readers are looking to find that same experience again, to find that, thrill or that romance or that adventure or that, scary, moment of surprise. They're looking to find that again. And so you need to know what they're looking for in the genre that you're writing. So read a ton. Reading is where we get a lot of our ideas. Not to plagiarize. Don't do that. That's bad. But to get ideas and to get inspired and to see how other authors do it, and oh, I don't really want to do it that way, or ooh, yeah, I really wish I could write like that. And it's good to emulate the authors who are good at what we want to be good at. But also to give it your own style, your own spin. And the last one is just don't compare. Okay, don't fall into the trap of comparing yourself to another author. It is so easy to fall into the, into the, as Anne Shirley would say, the depths of despair. Okay, it is so easy to go there as an author, as you meet other authors online, as you meet other authors in person, as you watch other authors, do the things that you want to do, and oh man, that author won NaNoWriMo, I say it wrong. Oh man, they did that, I could never do that. Or, oh man, that author's published 12 books and I'm still working on the first book, and, that author writes a book in 3 months and I've taken 10 years to write my book. Don't compare, okay? Their journey isn't the same as yours, and their story isn't the same as yours, and that's okay. If there's one piece of writing advice I could give you, is just write your story. And don't worry about how long it's taking or how long you think it should be taking, okay? I mean, yeah, get off Facebook, get off Twitter, stop watching my silly vlog, and go write your story. But, if it takes you longer, that's fine, okay? Some people may have one story, and that's okay. And some people have 27, and some people have 80. And, it's everybody is different, and everybody's author journey is different. The thing is, you are the only one who can write your story, and I can't wait to read it.